Okay, I guess I'm Batman. And I was having a chance to reconsider some of the things that I was talking about today, specifically the Bhagavad Gita, because it seems to be very, very hard to get my head around the idea that a very conscious being named Krishna, who Dr. David R. Hawkins, the consciousness researcher, calibrated at 1000, the highest level in a human body, why he would be telling human beings to go around um, warring with one another. Because the other avatar of God, Jesus of Nazareth, said, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." And, why would you um, interpret that to mean war on each other? Something is haywire. Something is haywire. And the whole point of spirituality is to get some clarity, isn't it? Or is it to simply become um, a clear channel for the source fields to use you as you will and to lose your humanity along the way? Because that's what it seems like. It seems like, Krishna is telling you to be um, violent to one another, and Jesus is saying, be kind to one another. So, and they both calibrated 1000. So, is higher consciousness equivalent to insanity? It seems to be. What is the solution? If I ask the source fields, they tell me the truth of the matter is Jesus is teaching is totally correct, and Krishna's teaching is totally correct. So, what does it mean for all of us? How do we reconcile two separate teachings that seem to be at odds? The truth of the matter is you cannot figure it out with your thinking mind and your common sense. And do we lose our humanity when we pursue our enlightenment? Yes, you become more and more. Well, Dr. David Hawkins said that the next evolutionary step of humanity is to go from being Homo sapiens sapiens, which is the current Linnaean way of naming us in Latin, to Homo spiritus, which is well, that's the name that Dr. David R. Hawkins came up with. So that's what our next species name is going to be, Homo spiritus. And there are various examples of evolved spirits, evolved beings on Star Trek. Uh, some of them don't seem terribly evolved, but they have superpowers like the Q continuum. There is the Metron, who caused Captain Kirk and the Gorn reptilians to have a uh, fight. Well, it was a one-on-one fight, Kirk versus the Gorn captain, a reptilian. And then in the end, Captain Kirk said, well, after he defeated the Gorn, um, he said, the Metron said, go ahead and kill him. And Captain Kirk said, no, I'm not going to kill him. He's injured and he's of no threat to me, so I'm not going to kill him. And then the Metrons said, oh, you're more evolved than we thought. But the Metrons had incredible powers. Um, there was Squire Trelane, who had Q-like powers. Basically, he was a Q, but they didn't call him Q. He was very kind of just like Q, pretty much troublemaker. And in the end, Trelane's parents called him home, and they were more powerful than Trelane, and he couldn't cause any more trouble. And then, of course, there were the Organians, who, in the original Star Trek, um, presented themselves as being very simple minded humans on a very primitive planet, and in the end demonstrated to both the Klingon Empire and Captain Kirk's United Federation of Planets that they were more powerful and they were actually evolved beings, so they evolved beyond the need for a physical body. Later on in Star Trek, I think it was Enterprise, the Organians were again used, and this time they didn't seem nearly as evolved as they had been in the earlier version of Star Trek, the original generation, in that they were pretending to be humans. They were actually walking in to human bodies and trying to observe what it was like to be human. Um, and they seemed to be reluctant to help the humans in any way at all, until one of the Organians looked at the other and said, we've gone on for a very long time observing humans and we have not stepped in to help them. And this is morally incorrect. You should be giving a hand up to lesser evolved species to help them evolve to higher levels. You should not just observe them and watch them suffer. So that was an interesting lesson. In the end, what would Batman do? I mean, a lot of people say, what would Jesus do? But Batman was basically a human. He was like Inspector Gadget. Didn't really have superpowers, but he had a lot of cool gadgets. What would Batman do? Might be a new way of looking at any kind of dilemma. And as far as my beer hat, what would beer do? I think that was a T-shirt one time. If you really want to consider it, what would beer do? That's all I got for you.